loyal sons. We'll get 'em on the run, boys. We got 'em on the run. Yes, we are loyal sons. We'll get 'em on the run, boys. We got 'em on the run.
Everyone, welcome back to HLS TV. I'm Molly Moran here with Ryan Ritter, and today we will be discussing last night's game against Navy. So Notre Dame took on the midshipmen of Navy and beat them by 10. So Ryan, what are some of your initial thoughts on last night's game?
Well, first off, I definitely thought we would have and should have beat them by more. And that being said, I mean, there was kind of, at the end of the first half, following towards the start of the second half, was about everything that could have gone wrong for Notre Dame went wrong. We had a turnover. Not only did we have a turnover, Navy scored off of it on the resulting drive. And then to start the half, Navy had their first and really, I think, only real long time destroying drive, because they ate up half a quarter when they scored. So I know a lot of people are saying, oh, we gave up 28, unanswered points to Navy. Well, a lot of that has to do with when, we got the ball back, or had we gotten the ball back in the second half, I think we could have stopped the bleeding. But perfect storm, things happen. Was sloppy, but hey, we won. Golson got 6 total touchdowns, which is absolutely absurd, no matter how sloppy the game was. And and as far as I'm concerned, the big game is this upcoming Saturday against Arizona State. So, move on. That's kind of my big thing, is move on. How about you?
Same, I agree. At the beginning, it reminded me a little bit. Well, not. In hindsight, it reminded me a little bit of the Purdue game, because we had that amazing first drive where it was so quick, and then it kind of started to just slowly fall apart a little bit, more so in the second half. But I thought for sure we were going to win by more. I think I even said that when we were talking to Aaron. I was like, oh, we're going to win by a lot. Not worried. I should know better by now to not be that comfortable going into games. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Wasn't the prettiest, but a win's a win. We pulled that one out, so I'm happy and just looking forward to next week, basically.
Yeah, and in this case, it wasn't just one strong drive. I mean, it was multiple. We were up. What was
true,
it?
Yeah.
21-7, I think, and that's the first 7 came, and I swear it's like the universe is trolling Notre Dame fans. Came off the most obvious offensive pass interference. You could put that in referee training school and say, yeah, that's offensive pass interference. Somebody in the back's like, wait, why didn't they throw a flag on it? And we're all like, okay, whatever, screw you guys, this is ridiculous.
I know, and yes, somehow the Florida State game kept getting brought up. Obviously, that was one way to bring it up. I'm like, we get it. Thank you, Aaron Taylor. We all know what happened. We were all watching. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, but on the other end, one of the touchdowns was Brian Kelly setting up trips right, and instead, I mean, he was the players were intentionally blocking, but almost running similar routes, except it was an actual screen. Just kind of a nod, yep, there you go, behind the line of scrimmage. I can do whatever I want there now. Screw it.
Yep.
So yeah, 2 times Florida State, kind of got brought back up, but
of course,
whatever.
It's gonna happen. We also learned that Corey Robinson's dad attended the Naval Academy.
Yeah, I
1,000 times. In case you didn't know.
It was the, oh gosh, should I even mention the Joe Schmidt walk-on right now? Is this too soon?
I know. We might as well just get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I took some time.
Yeah. And that's why I texted you well before we started filming, because it's like, hey, Brian Kelly just announced that Joe Schmidt is out for the year, requires surgery on his ankle. Very, very unfortunate. It's one of those injuries to where you have enough bodies flying around. We had a couple different roll-up injuries. Jaron Jones got a piece of one as well, but Schmidt was the big one. He was walking around in crutches, not crunches. So we were all kind of collectively holding our breath there, even though, Niles Morgan, very athletic, highly touted recruit, was taking his place. It's hard to lose the heart and soul of the defense. And Molly, I know you're president of the Joe Schmidt fan club, so Are you okay?
I'm okay. I mean, I will say, good looking out. I appreciated your text. And the fact that, he's basically, coming back for a 5th year helped a little bit. But I just, so sad. Yeah, and I definitely, going forward, it's, going to be something that we're going to have to think about as far as the defense is concerned, because he's definitely the heart and soul of that defense. So we'll see how that all pans out.
Yeah, and the quarterback too. I mean, if you think about the injuries we've had, Austin Collinsworth had that role. Then it moved to
Mhm.
Schmidt, and Kelly. I don't know if you saw any of the press conference or the tweets. I know you kind of watching by proxy a little bit last
Yeah.
night, but Brian Kelly said, yeah, as soon as Schmidt went out and Niles Morgan came in, we basically went to one call the entire game. Which one? I mean, I understand it's an option team, but how ballsy is that you're like, all right, at this point, it's just regular assignment football, nothing special, vanilla defense. Just please don't give up a bunch of points.
Yeah.
So I guess the silver lining is that, yeah, we lost Schmidt, but we replaced him with one hell of an athlete. So, but
Yeah.
the trick is who takes over that quarterbacking role, and I honestly don't know what the answer is. That defense is so young right now.
I know.
The veteran leadership is coming from sophomores at this point, which is just absurd. So,
Yeah.
and honestly, if you told me right now, is like, who do you think would take over that role? I don't even know.
Yeah,
I can't even, maybe
I don't
Farley,
think
maybe
anyone really does.
maybe Matthew Farley.
True.
That might be the
Yeah.
only one. But even then, I mean, it's kind of crazy that
Yeah.
going against Arizona State at that with how strong their offense is, and really you got to tip your hat to Kelly. I mean, it's one thing to
Mhm.
say next man in, it's another to deal with the whole Maroon 5 thing. Austin Collinsworth goes down. Now you have Joe Schmidt going down, and Kelly is somehow finding a way to keep everything together and keep us moving forward, which is unbelievably commendable. Shows not only is he able to develop talent to plug in, but is able to find a way to rally the troops. And it's yet to be seen how big. I think of all things that happened, this is by far the biggest injury to hit the team or suspension or whatever.
Mhm.
This is the true test, and especially considering what's coming up next. And we know now, in hindsight, that this is the biggest game of the season, most likely.
Yep.
Unless Southern Cal just goes on an absolute tear at the very end. I can't honestly, the way they've been playing, the way the Pac-12's been playing, Arizona State has been able to rise to the top right now, and they're
Mhm.
very much in the hunt. Oregon more or less, they kicked the crap out of Stanford, so they got the North locked up in the Pac-12.
Mhm.
Arizona State, in the driver's seat after their very, very close win against Utah.
Mhm.
So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how that plays out. But in terms of the quality opponents, we're looking at the biggest one since Florida State. I mean, it's going to be Arizona State and Florida State. And I don't know if we would have said that preseason or not. Maybe Florida State, Arizona
Yeah.
State, maybe. But yeah, I mean, how do you feel? I know I just kind of rambled on with all kinds of things. How do you feel about trying to replace Joe? I mean,
I think it's well, one, he's irreplaceable, but no. He really, actually, he really is. Not even being, goofy, but I think it's gonna be like one of those baptism by fire things. Honestly, I think like up to this point, we always say it, and we've said it in shows before. You do wonder, like, well, who's gonna replace this guy, and well, this guy was really good, and who can possibly fill his shoes? I mean, unfortunately, it happened, but someone will step up. I'm confident. I just don't think right now we really know who it's gonna be. But I think they've done really, really well, like filling gaps. I've been really impressed with like the guys that have stepped up, and I do think Brian Kelly does have the right kind of guys, and like you said, develops talent. So I'm trying not to freak out. It did happen at a really unfortunate time with Arizona State being the next game, but I mean, if I had to pick like an MVP, just kind of rolling into that, I was gonna say like when I was thinking about it. There were guys that played really well the whole game, so I would give them credit. But honestly, guys like Niles Morgan that were just sitting on the bench the whole game, not expecting to get in, and then do things like he did and had like a really amazing game, I think he would be like one of my MVPs. So point being, I'm worried, but I think we could possibly be okay. I
yeah,
have confidence in those guys.
yeah. Niles Morgan about killed Keenan Reynolds on one.
Uh,
That was one of the
yeah.
hardest hits I've seen all season.
He was a monster. I was like, oh my goodness, he was ready to come off that bench and do some work. So I mean, I was really impressed with him.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the raw talent, but you can also see the other side because there were some plays where, and in particular, on one of Navy's touchdowns. I mean, or it was either a touchdown or a huge game. But I just remember
Mhm.
watching. I he just over pursued the entire pitch man. Like, he was nowhere close to it, and as soon as the cut was made, it was over. And Navy's just one of those teams, when you have a good triple option team, as soon as you lose contain, as soon as you blow an assignment, because
it's kind of done.
Yeah, it's kind of done. But it wasn't just him. You know, let's not pick on the freshman.
Right.
Because Max Redfield had one, and I know his was on a touchdown.
Yeah,
he was in the exact wrong place. He could have been in anywhere.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was one where it may have actually been the touchdown where Navy took the lead, if I remember correctly.
I think you're right.
Yeah, but you know, it wasn't like I said, it wasn't just freshmen. So the good news is that we have loads and loads of talent, but you know, this is maybe where we need to start. I think Navy was a big reminder that these guys are young.
Yeah.
They're
definitely
going to make mistakes, and with Arizona State coming up, you know, that is a very, very, very good offense, and we may need to brace ourselves a little bit because I understand why keeping Navy close caused so many headaches. I think Navy in general with our fan base causes a little bit of extra anger because, you know, we want to beat them by 50 and we want 0 people getting hurt. So game's close, we're freaking out. If anybody's on the ground, we're freaking out because it's an automatic assumption somebody took a dirty cut block, which thankfully 0 cut block injuries. So let's get that out of the way. It was 0 cut block injuries, and I know the argument is we shouldn't even take the risk, but whatever. Anybody that got hurt, it could have happened in any other game. So, but yeah, with Arizona State coming up, I'm kind of scared now with Schmidt being out, and man, I don't know. What are your feelings right now on this? Either based off what we saw against Navy or going forward with Arizona State, what's your temperature?
For some reason, I'm weirdly optimistic. I don't know why this always happens to me. Something about because I was optimistic about Navy and then we won only by 10, but something about it, I'm just like, you know what? I like what Brian Kelly said, honestly, like, Navy, you know, he said that he challenges anybody to put Navy on their schedule. My point being, I do think that sometimes we don't, credit them enough. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have beat them by more, but, I mean, Navy is really, a hell of a team. I think they always play as a team. I mean, they have to. You know, think about what they could possibly be doing off the field. And, and you know, point being, I think this team just always finds a way to win. I don't know. I mean, even Everett Golson, with the mistakes he made, like you said, he had 6 touchdowns. Mind you, 3 of them were passing touchdowns and 3 of them were rushing touchdowns. That's insane, and I think it's some sort of record. So,
for Notre Dame, yes. No Notre Dame quarterback has ever done that. I believe I saw that more than once. So that should be a Notre Dame record.
Yeah, and I was just, I don't know, even though it doesn't seem like it because we've kind of had some, sloppy patched together wins lately, I really think this team is kind of getting some sort of weird momentum going. Personally, I think they just want to win, and I don't care if it's ugly. I just think they do. So something about Arizona State, I don't know. I think we have it. I think it's going to be difficult for sure, but I don't know. I think the defense might surprise us, and I think someone will step up, and I think they're going to get it done. I don't know where this is coming from. I just, for some reason, am not nearly as nervous about Arizona State as I was Purdue or something. I don't know. That's just how I am. I don't know. Even though I wasn't nervous about Navy, but that's okay. We won. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, just look at how the season's gone. Even against Florida State, we played a much better game than I could have expected against Florida State. I mean, and mostly because we dominated on both lines. So I know we ended up losing and.
And honestly, not to bring it all back up again, but again, it shouldn't have come down to one play, and then we had another down to make it happen. But let's be honest, we basically won that game. You know what I mean? If we're being, you know.
And I almost wonder if that's where some of the Navy frustration's coming from, because, man, Twitter was, in general, I actually backed off. I'm just watching football. I called into ND Fan Radio, and I'm like, I'm not even engaging people. I'm like, unsubscribe. I don't want to talk about this. And
it was weird, definitely.
I think I kind of understand, because there's part of that to where you want to see Notre Dame, absolutely put a team away when they should. That is a reason why we did not win. Again, like I said, that penalty is not the reason we lost, but it took away the win, but it's not the sole reason we lost. There was many other if we stop Winston from going, I'm at this point I'm calling it the second half Winston devil magic, because
Yes.
he had it against Louisville too. When you throw an interception and you force a
Yes.
fumble on your own interception, that's absurd, and it's frustrating. But you stop Winston, maybe you convert some of the fourth downs earlier in the game, execute a little bit better, execute before it's 4th and goal and score a touchdown. So I mean, there's all kinds of different ways. So I think maybe that's where some of the frustration's coming, is that
Right.
and it wasn't even before even all the unanswered points. Notre Dame was back in the driver's seat once again, and everything just got super, super conservative. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, because we did still try to pass, and I follow a couple, some of the lone Navy bloggers out there, and they were wondering, it's like, why the hell is Notre Dame passing? Like, seriously, just run the ball, you jerks.
Right.
So it was almost the complete opposite reaction. But I almost think that Brian Kelly said, it's Navy, we should be able to assert our dominance on the ground. So I understand, especially previously in the day, teams, especially West Virginia, playing not to lose, had it backfire in a big way. So I think when you combine all of that in this crazy, crazy season that we've had with college football, with the way Florida State turned out, I think that all creates and has this frustration bubble up, which I think it's fine to be frustrated personally, because I mean, go take a look at our prediction thread. I predicted an absolute blowout.
Yeah.
And this team did play pissed off like I thought. They played, solid, but, just after the interception, we were reeling for a while. And I honestly think that has been a pattern for the team against Florida State and Navy, to where they make a second half adjustment against us, and we seem to
be. And then we kind of struggle to match their adjustment.
Yeah, but the difference, Florida State were doing that, they'll score quicker. When Navy does it to you, it just feels like you're dying the slow death by 1,000 paper cuts, because what was that drive, like 8 minutes to start?
Yes,
something crazy like that. So
it was close to 8 minutes,
Yeah, and then when CBS puts up this stupid, like, our second offensive drive, they put up, like, the total yards. It's like Navy has, like, 80 or something. Notre Dame has negative whatever it was. It was like, well, yeah, we've run 3 plays the whole half.
Right.
So, yeah, it's going to look terrible. That's a stupid stat. Yes, sure, frustrated we went 3 and out on that was the only drive we failed to where Navy stopped us. The other one was whatever the heck happened on that interception. I still don't know. Apparently, it was an option route that Golson or somebody read wrong, and somebody read the wrong route. But
somewhat wrong. We don't know what.
Where he threw it, I'm just like, I don't know what you thought he was running, because that's right at Navy. So I don't know, but yeah, and I think that's where a lot of the frustration's coming from, and I guess.
Right.
And also, I guess we can kind of roll into talking playoff implications. I'm one of those people that think this game matters about as much as us blowing Rice out early in the season did with the playoffs. But I think that is an additional factor, as everybody expects, we should have blown out Navy to make a statement to the playoff committee. And I don't think the playoff committee, gives two craps one way or the other whether we beat them by 50 or beat them by 4. What are your thoughts on that? Are you with me, or?
No, I completely agree. I don't think they care. I think, again, we've said it a million times, but I honestly think you just have to win. You just have to win out. I don't think they care if it's by 50 or not. I think we would have liked it to be by 50, but I don't think the committee's going to care one way or the other. I will say, though, going off the frustration thing, I was a little, I'm sure everyone was, like, Brinza with those 2 missed field goals, that was kind of not okay.
Yeah, I
was thinking about that. I'm like, well, that's 6 points right there, and then technically their 7, I don't think should have counted because of the offensive pass interference. So, there were some, I don't know, that 6 points kind of hurt and was scary because I had no idea. Well, I guess the one was blocked, right? The second one?
Yeah, second one was blocked. The first
one, I was like, what in the world?
And I know it's going into a strong wind, which I was actually surprised we kicked it, and that was the reason. So when he missed it, I wasn't surprised. I was more surprised of how poor the kick was.
Yeah.
The second one, I have no idea how good that kick was going to be, because that thing was.
The second one, I was honestly surprised that they even did it. Because of the first one.
I thought we were just going to go for it, and I'm not sure I mean, because if you think about it, if you just saw him miss one, so it's another. I think that second attempt was longer than the first one. So, if you're thinking, he could very well miss it again. Either it could
Right.
be a terrible kick, or the wind will knock it down, or something. So you're already doing a field position gamble as it is. To hell with
Mhm.
it, just go for it. It's Navy. That was the both
Yeah,
those
that to me, I
kicks.
was kind of like, I don't agree with that one, but
Right. And I'm on both of them. I wasn't too keen on him kicking because it was going
yeah,
into the wind. Brenz is a solid kicker. I know it. It's seen that kick. Maybe
yeah,
if you
that's
hadn't
why I
watched Notre
was
Dame, you wouldn't
surprised.
think so. But he's a good kicker, and I understand giving some confidence in. But in that case, no. It's Navy. Go for it, and you should be able to make a play on them. So I
Right, and
understand. Go
yeah, I
ahead.
was gonna say, like you were saying before, I think they were just, kind of getting conservative, like, well, we'll just win instead of like it's Navy. Like, will you just kind of try something here? Like,
Yeah,
we need to go for the field goal.
again, I think that's the frustration is, it's like we're better than them. Stomp on their throats. Let's stop being conservative. To hell with the field goals.
Hmm.
Just go for it. We'll stop them anyway if it comes down on defense. So, which we did when we missed
Hmm.
both. I think on both field goals. I have to double check. I could be very wrong, but I seem to remember that. Um, Maybe they scored on one after a missed field goal, but yeah, I think after one missed field goal, maybe they scored. I'd have to look at the drive chart again, but
Hmm.
overall, and again, with one defensive play, we held Navy, which also kind of makes me wonder is like, were we getting too cute a little bit earlier with some of the other plays? How'd you feel about
Maybe.
the defense, though? Let's talk about that. We haven't even talked about Van Gorder's first try against the option. How'd you feel about the performance?
I mean, I was kind of thinking about, comparing him to Diaco and some, of the recent, past, and I I was pretty impressed with his first go at it because I remember being frustrated. Well, last year was a close game, was it
Mhm.
not? It was
It
like
was.
what? I mean, and I just remember Navy's always frustrating, but I think in recent years since Diaco had been there and kind of proven himself as I mean, he was a good defensive mind. I think I just recall during some of the Navy games thinking, "What are you doing?" personally, and so I think Van Gorder for his first time did solid.
Yeah, I had some moments of what are you doing?
Yeah.
Mostly because it was at the beginning because I don't know about the 4-4 lineup, and it's mostly because the reason is when you put 8 men in the box, you're basically
Mhm.
already, you know, I understand daring Navy to pass, but
Right.
that quarterback wasn't bad. He could pass, so
Yeah.
I don't like that, and it actually burned us on a few occasions. Uh, we had some dropped in there, and when you got three guys out there on an island, something bad could easily happen.
That's true.
Um, but also, it was very weird because it's like we had the safety coming down, and most of the time it was Max Redfield playing the pitch man, which
Yeah.
seemed weird because it was like you had, why aren't these eight guys also covering the pitch? It's something I definitely want to look some more film, but there was a period of time, specifically in the second quarter, to where every option just got hit so hard, and it was like on 4 plays in a row. It was like fullback hit, quarterback hit, pitch guy that finally gets the ball hit, and I was like, okay, that's how you play. Just keep doing that. Whatever that play
Right.
is, just call that over and over again. And I'm almost wondering if maybe we try to get too fancy because I mean, if you think about it, Van Gorder, he is a pressure the quarterback kind of guy, and
Hmm.
that is not how you approach a triple option offense. It's
Yeah.
all assignment football, so he was definitely out of his comfort zone. I think for a first attempt, because if we remember how Diaco's first attempt went, holy crap, that was an absolute disaster. So
Yeah.
all things considered, and also considering the injuries that we had on there, uh,
Yeah, for sure. That definitely changed the game a little bit there.
right. I'm decently happy with the defensive performance. I still think we could have
Yeah.
done a lot better. We really didn't, especially on the edge. We had a lot of problems shedding blocks on guys that are about half our size, which was slightly concerning. Um,
Yeah.
they did enough to win. I guess that's the best way to put it. They did enough to win, and we had a fat guy interception. So
We did. That's always exciting.
Moran, dude, his comment after the game was funny. He was like, "Yeah, I was surprised I caught it." He was like, "Well, now I'm like on offense. I have to figure out how to score." I can
Yeah,
always,
I imagine that's always like that they have a similar train of thought when that happens, and they're probably like, yeah, wait, but now what do I do with it? They
yeah.
never know how to hold it, and yeah, it's always great to watch.
Yeah, I know I don't have a lot of football background to go off of, having played baseball for most of my life. But in this student manager game, I was one of the bigger guys at the student manager, so they put me on both lines. So when I was a junior, I was playing nose tackle, and I remember we had one guy coming off the end. He hit the quarterback, and literally this interception falls in my lap, and I catch it, and I'm just like, oh hell, I need to try to do something with it.
Oh, now I have to do something with it. Yeah.
That was thought number one. The thought number two, as soon as I hopped over the guy that, ironically enough, we're talking Navy, tried to cut block me, and I kind of slapped him out of the way. I hurdled him, and then I'm like, wait a second. The entire offensive line and the running backs and the quarterbacks are all about to hit me. So I'm like, oh, wait, next thing is don't fumble the ball. You just got it. So I can only imagine what goes through the mind of a big man who you spend so much time, I only spent a handful of days in that one game, thinking that, I mean, they've been doing it their whole lives, thinking about, hitting somebody and getting through a defense, and all of a sudden, football. Do this thing.
Oh, this is different. Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome. You have to love your Twitter timeline when that happens, because everyone has the same tweet like 30 times, and then I know that I'm following the right people.
Exactly. If you don't have everybody doing some variation of fat guy interception, I mean, had
Right,
he
you're
scored a
doing it wrong.
touchdown, had it been a touchdown, then it would have been like that for 2
That's
minutes,
bad.
and you would have seen it filter across. You'd have everybody making their gifs and everybody retweeting it and saying "fat guy touchdown, fat guy
That ball to
touchdown."
it going 77 yards.
Right.
Against Navy last year. That was, or 2012.
Yeah,
2012,
2 years
yeah.
ago.
I want it to be last year. Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a freak of nature touchdown, though, because he was
was.
so fast. I remember Bayou, he actually timed the run, and it was, I forget what it was, and I have to look it up. I know it's on our site somewhere, but it was absurd how fast that was. So always good to see the big guys getting a chance to try to do some damage. Nothing, I forgot who it was. I think it was Arkansas? Somebody had an offensive lineman either fake a chip shot field goal or a 2-point conversion, and offensive lineman threw a pass. And all I could think of was somewhere Lewis Nix is just,
Yep.
All right, so let's go into MVPs. We've kind of been all over the place with the game. Does that sound like a good place to go from here?
Let's do it. Yeah, we can segue there.
Yeah, go. You start. Go ahead. Let's see. Offense, defense, MVPs.
Offense, I'd have to go with Everett Golson for this game. Obvious choice, maybe, or predictable, but honestly, I think he did what he had to do. And the 6 touchdowns, like, hello, that's insane. And towards the end of the game, he kind of, he did what he had to do at the end. So, Everett Golson, I'd say. Although there were a lot of Chris Brown, I think, gets an honorable mention. He was really involved in the game. I don't know where he came from, but they started to get him involved, and I was like, oh, hey, Chris Brown, you're on the team. And, yeah, I mean, again, we definitely have some offensive weapons, so, Corey Robinson, good to always see them step up. But Everett Golson would get my choice there. And then defense, gosh, like I said, I was impressed with the freshmen that had to step up. But, Utopo, Day, Jones, they kind of, they've been impressive, like, the whole season, I'd say. So, I think they just keep doing their things, and MVP for me. Collectively, I guess.
Offense, it's Everett Golson for a couple reasons. One is obviously the 6 touchdowns, but number 2, he made Navy on more than one occasion just look like absolutely stupid. It was ridiculous.
Oh, you're right. He was really elusive yesterday for no reason at all.
Yeah, he had one play, and it wasn't a touchdown. It was about like a 15, 20-yard run or something, to where, he just it looked like one of those like old Tecmo Bowl days where you just get Bo Jackson, you have him run around the field until he eventually scores. It's what it felt like, and then
you're right. Some of those guys hit him like by the ankle, and he just like kind of looked and looked like he just like shook his leg, like turned around like, no, I'm not done yet. I was like, okay.
and he scores a touchdown early in the game by about tripping and falling on his face,
right?
And then he like does a little I can't even talk, pump fake.
It's so
that
exciting.
yeah, it was, I mean, it wasn't even a good one. He's just like, yeah, and, Navy bit so hard, he just kind of walks into the end zone. Then he, like, fumbles. I saw some people calling it dribbling the football into the end zone just about, because he fumbles and then, runs around people and somehow makes his way in for a touchdown. What he did was just so ridiculous, and there were busted plays that he made happen, so
Hmm.
I'm not even going to honorable mention anybody else because it was ridiculous. And
Yeah.
as bad as everything was, and as frustrating as the game was, when I flipped over to Fox Sports 1 to watch Arizona State and Utah, the first thing I come in was like, man, Everett Golson with 6 touchdowns. We should really start thinking about Heisman here for him, shouldn't we? And I'm just like laughing because everybody's so frustrated with how close the game was, and
Right.
here's some third party people.
Everyone else, they're impressed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man, 6 touchdowns. Who cares who that was against? That's ridiculous.
No, I will. I mean, before you name your next MVP, I will just say, I think like last night's game for sure. Like I've always been impressed with Everett Golson, but like I said, going into the season, I was kind of like, I don't know. A lot of people have like all their eggs in a basket with this one. Like everybody seemed to be like, oh, Everett Golson's gonna be great. I wasn't too sure. Something about last night really like has me convinced that there's like some sort of X factor is going on, even when you think he's like kind of falling apart or making mistakes, nothing rattles him, I don't think. And I think he knows how to just like, I think he's got a confidence about him. And last night I was really impressed with him. So
Yeah, and I don't think we've seen the ceiling for him. Somebody
no.
randomly, it was like at halftime or something, sent me this, should the Cowboys draft Everett Golson because our starting quarterback Tony Romo has, his back's at about 20 different pieces now, and I was like, that's conflicting. I think he's great, but I think he needs another year, and I really think another year. Now that he has learned, he's learned from George Whitfield. Now he's got another year under his belt, and everybody likes to say that third year can be really magical for somebody that's still progressing and still hitting their ceiling. And I think, and by all accounts, I believe that's what Everett's going to do. So I really think there's so much more that he's got in store, and it's going to be awesome. So I can't wait for that. But anyway, that's offense.
Yes, defense. Go for it.
Defense. I mean, this one's hard because I loved how the defensive line played. And judging on option football is always weird, but, I'm going to tip my hat, maybe go a little bit outside the box here. And even though he did make some mistakes in the game, I'm going to give it to Max Redfield because what he was assigned to do was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I that's not how I would have schemed it if I was drawing it up, but, I mean, basically, they trusted him to make sure he read that he wasn't about to get burned on a pass and then be responsible, for the pitch. And it was at one point to where he was consistently on the pitch man, and Navy started adjusting some of their calls, and they actually started pulling blockers on the offensive line to go get him because he was causing so much trouble. So I'm going to tip my hat to him because I think he did a really good job there. I'm going to give an honorable mention to Farley because when he came in at the end of the game, well, didn't come in. He was there the whole time, but it was just like as soon as Navy had to pass, it's like Van Gorder said, okay, now it's time. Now I'm going to have fun. He just let Farley loose, and he about damn near had 4 consecutive sacks because he was just like, okay, that guy, I'm killing him. That's my job. It was to kill Keenan Reynolds.
He's really been coming into his own lately because last year he definitely looked a little shaky, and even towards the beginning of the season. And these past couple games, he's really gelled and really just like come into his own, it seems. So, yeah, good pick.
Yeah, that's going to be my honorable mention. And that's being said, and I mentioned it before, I love the big guys. I think they did great, but that's kind of what stood out for me in this game.
Yeah, that's a good point against triple option.
Yeah, but Arizona State is...
I know.
Afternoon, thank God. A road afternoon. It's a miracle, but...
I was surprised by that, yeah.
Well, if you take a look at the slate, it's because a lot of the primetime eyes are going to be on a lot of conference games because, just like Utah and Arizona State was this week, as late as it was, I mean, they finished their game after Hawaii, which usually never happens. But, I mean, it's because eyes are going to be on those games in the other top 10 games. So there's going to be a lot of eyes on this one. So it is really Notre Dame's chance to take out, right now, a Pac-12 front runner.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're, like I said before, they're in the driver's seat in the Pac-12 South. So they have the best road right now to the Pac-12 title on their division. So this is huge. I was able to watch a little bit of the game, but what were your thoughts right now as we sit here in our way too early prediction time?
I know. No, like I said, something about this game has me not very nervous. I by no means think it's going to be like a blowout or anything like that, but I really think we're going to pull it out and win. But I do think I think it will be close, personally. Again, we obviously have Joe Schmidt out, so the defense is going to have to really come together and make something happen. And the offense, I don't think is going to, if the defense does their job and, gets Arizona State's offense off the field, then our offense is really going to have to, you can't make mistakes. So we can't miss field goals and we can't have interceptions. It's one of those, it's kind of like one of those generic things that, that some people get paid $1 million to say, like, oh, the team that makes the, least amount of mistakes is going to win. But, like, oh, really? Good one. But, no, I think, yeah, it's going to start with the defense getting their offense off the field. And our offense, I think, for sure is just, we're going to have to see the Everett Golson that we did last night. Because preferably without any mistakes, but, 6 touchdowns would be great. So, yeah, I don't know. I think we're going to win. That's what I think.
Honestly, I am a little bit more nervous, mostly because Schmidt is out and their offense is good.
Yeah.
But here's the thing I noticed when I was watching them play Utah. The biggest thing was, if you can, and really this happened last year too, if you get pressure on their quarterback, it seems to throw everything off of them, and their potent attack, as soon as you get them off their timing, out of their comfort zone, things get really, really rough for them. And against you, Utah's defense is decent. Even with injuries, I personally feel our defense is a little bit better than Utah. But Utah caused enough disruption, and if I remember right, and I don't know, I watched this whole game, but if I seem to remember, it was either 13-13 or 16-16 at the end of regulation. I forget which. So, for a high-powered offense like Arizona State to be restricted to that many points, one, it's possible, and two, it shows that, maybe there's a little bit of weakness in the line. Maybe they can't handle the blitz, which should make Van Gorder start licking his
chops. I was going to say, he loves that. So,
yeah. So
I'm written all over it.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that matches up well. And also, we need another big game from Folsom, because I really think we're going to need to make my boy. But really, it's we're going to need a little bit of ball control here. We can't have the quick 3-and-out. And Brian Kelly, I've noticed, he will adjust his offense to the situation that he feels he needs to. He is not afraid to, pick it up. He's also not afraid to slow it down. And I really think he'll try to slow it down. It'll be a lot like what we saw against Florida State. That was a really concerted effort we're going to try to win the battle at the line, because, one, that's going to open everything up. Two, it's going to bleed the clock and keep these guys off the field, because it's going to start making them press. So hopefully, and really with our defense having some big replacements, and we may have to get simpler in our scheme with Schmidt out. If that's the case, then man, we really need to pick up and help our defense in that case.
Yeah.
So
get you the quarterback.
Yeah. So maybe I need to keep watching this episode over and over again and have your confidence bleed over.
I know, and I'm telling you, I know it makes no sense. I don't know why. I just feel like this. Maybe it's just because I don't know. Maybe it's not close enough yet, and then I'll start freaking out. But something about it right now, I'm just like, we're good. I don't know why.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, and really Notre Dame all season long, they have shown to be able to step up no matter what it is. And I know our schedule isn't what we thought it was. I know if you really par it down, you take a look at, we've had one big game. Now this is the second big one. But, as far as I'm concerned, at the time, everything's big, no matter what. Michigan was a big deal. Stanford was a big deal, because if you don't come out and you don't execute, those games are disasters. And then if everything else happens to Michigan and Stanford, say, like it has this season, then man, does that look really bad. So
yeah, no, and I don't care if it sounds, way Notre Dame biased or anything, but I really truly think that teams play Notre Dame differently. I don't care. I know that doesn't matter to anybody else, but I honestly think that teams will play their best game against Notre Dame. I know that doesn't make our schedule any stronger, but I'm just saying, like, I think that's true. So, I think, and honestly, even if you're playing well, not a whole schedule of cupcakes, but my point is, I think if you go with one loss up to this point, I don't care who you're playing. I think that's still a pretty big accomplishment. So.
Yeah, and this has been a chaos year, and we were really on the border to even more chaos. I mean, West Virginia had TCU in the bag, and they blew it. Auburn, Ole Miss, man, that was the most heartbreaking way I've ever seen.
Oh, I know.
And that was, I saw that replay way too many times, and I wish I hadn't. But so that was a crazy game. Florida beating Georgia. Where the hell did that come from?
Right? No idea.
They kicked their ass. It was like they faked the field goal and scored, and then a light bulb went on. We're like, we could keep doing this more often.
Yeah, let's points. Those are fun. Yeah, it's just like, okay.
Yeah, so, and now Gurley's going to come back, so there's a chance now for a very pissed-off Georgia team to be the lone wrecking ball in the SEC East and just completely start taking people out in the West. To that crazy scenario where we could have a 2-loss SEC champion, it's very possible.
Yeah.
It very well could happen.
Yeah, football gets crazy in November. Stuff gets real.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop on Michigan State. It's going to happen sometime, I think. I don't know if it'll be against Ohio State or not, but
I could see that. That's what my dad and I were talking, and we were like, you know what? I'd circle that one. That seems to me to have some potential to be a good one.
Right. Yeah. So, and I know we kind of mentioned playoffs. I mean, there's still so much time, and I said this on ND Fan Radio when I called in last night. Do not use Navy as, being concerned about what it's going to do to change our playoff picture. I think I'm not saying ignore the poll, but if all you're concerned about is where Notre Dame is moved in comparison to everybody else, you might want to lay off this week because next week's the one that matters.
Right. Well, another thing is that just shows if you're just looking at Notre Dame, you're doing it wrong because you have to look at everybody else and think about what everyone else, who they play and who they could lose to.
Right, because
you can't look at Notre Dame as an isolated, thing.
Right, and not only that, we're still trying to figure out what the committee is doing week to week.
Right.
We have one data point right now. We're able to make some assumptions based on what they've said, based on what they did. So, okay, now are they going to keep the same thing? Are they going to keep everybody nicely grouped in this loss bucket? Where does Ole Miss fall? Are they going to be down in this bucket of 2 lost teams, or are they going to hop some of the 1 lost teams? Could they even hop Notre Dame or something like that? It's not necessarily about, SEC bias, but it shows it's like, okay, let's see how they consider, a close win against a Power 5 team from where non-Power 5, from where we started to where everybody else did. How much do they reward TCU for escaping by the skin of their teeth against West Virginia?
Yep.
There's so many questions. So that's the exciting part about looking about it. And because, like I said, and I use Rice as an example because I don't think they care about how much we beat Rice by. I don't think they care about how close Navy was. I don't think they care about shutting out Michigan. I don't think they care that we played Stanford close. I don't think they care that we struggled against Purdue. I really think they're taking, at least at this point, a very, very basic view.
I agree. That's what it seems like.
At least in the early going. Now, when things get tighter later and this becomes less of an exercise and, getting some good ratings for ESPN's, show and being able to create discussion and give us a lot to talk about week to week, then all of a sudden when they need to name a Final Four, that's where a lot of stuff gets on the line. That's the nitty gritty. So will things change? Are they staying simplistic now and they know, let's do this for now because it's going to get a lot more complicated later, and let's start laying the groundwork for some arguments so we kind of know where everybody stands. So
right. And see, that's what it seems like to me, but who knows? They could be flipping coins. I don't know.
My biggest thing is if they remain consistent, that's all I can ask for. I may not agree with it. I still think they're using way too much circular logic right now in how they're ranking teams, but if it's consistent, then you know what you got to do. And really, if the bottom line is the team that wins all their games against a decent schedule, sorry, Marshall, you're kind of SOL because your schedule's terrible right now.
Right.
If you have a normal schedule, you win all your games, you're in. And that's the way it's been, throughout the BCS because it's so hard to stay undefeated. And, everything else with the one loss, hey, as soon as you lose control, tough cookies. That's what happens. You can't really do much about that. And it drives me nuts that's where we're at. I think that, and they did say they would look at good losses. I honestly think they did. We just didn't get a whole lot of credit for it, which, if you think about it, you should get credit more for your wins than your losses. I'm cool with that. So who knows? But, yeah, just don't worry about where we land after this. If, we end up, hell, if we're out of the top 25, whatever, beat Arizona State and we're right back in. So.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, yeah, because – I'll be that person if you think of it the other way. Had we not beat Navy, it would be a whole lot different. So that's my thing. I'll be that person to bring that up. It could have been the other way. So.
Yeah. And we've watched Notre Dame teams where, and really that kind of game is, we have seen the other way many, many different times because there are teams, there are coaches that cannot, do well in those situations. And we've seen them on the field. And really my biggest thing is, right now, we're sitting at the table, and our best argument is, man, we damn near beat Florida State. Not a very good argument when everybody else is able to say, yeah, but we beat Auburn, we beat Ole Miss.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's the big thing. Let's make a case against Arizona State. Let's get that one under our belt because that is not guaranteed. And if we get that, then yeah, I'm going to start making a little bit more noise and saying, okay, this is. Yeah. It's like, really, Michigan State's still ranked above us for beating Nebraska, and we just beat Arizona State. Okay, something's off here.
Right. But like you said, if we beat Arizona State, where we fall, then I think we'll tell what some logic seems to be, or if there is any.
Yeah, I mean, right now there appears to be something, but hey, we'll see. And I'll be up late again Tuesday evening as soon as that goes out, tinkering with that little spreadsheet so we can see what they're doing week to week. We'll figure it out one way or the other. But
yeah,
it's still fun. Let's think about it. It's still fun. I don't want to say, hey, everything's perfect, and I'm scared to death about Arizona State. I'll be honest. I am terrified.
I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm sure I'll say it.
I want that. I want that confidence, but because that would make me feel so much better right now, to be honest. But I know there's people. I guarantee you're not the only one. Like, yeah, Arizona State, we got this. We beat them last year. We can beat them.
I don't want people to think I'm like some sort. I'm not like I'm not like just positive for no reason. It's not like I'm not crediting Arizona State for being a good football team. Something about it's just more so like something about this Notre Dame team has me feeling like, okay, I think they can do this. So I'm not like well, I might be crazy. I was gonna say I'm not crazy, but that's a different conversation.
We're sitting here doing filming the day after, not even 24 hours after the game, so there may be a little bit of craziness in there that we're willing to do that. But hey, and I guarantee you're not the only Notre Dame fan that thinks that, and I'm not just talking about people that can't see past blue and gold glasses. I mean, you've been nervous about games before. You've said that.
I have. No, I do. I get really, and I guarantee, I'll be sitting there watching this or listening to it, what am I talking about? I can't eat this. I can't eat the day of a game. I'll be freaking out. So, for now I'm good.
Which is good. So it's very good that it's an afternoon game then.
Yeah, otherwise I starve.
Yeah, and I'm the opposite. It's the nervous. I'll nervous eat and nervous drink, and I don't like looking at the scale after all seasons pass. Like, Jesus, what did I do to myself? That's the real reason Notre Dame will kill me before I'm 50. It's because I eat like trash and drink like an idiot during the season.
I mean, that's us collectively as a fan base, so it's good. We're in good company.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, hey, I don't know. Do you got anything else?
No, I think I'm excited for Saturday. I want to see what goes down.
Yeah.
And then talk about it after.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm nervous, but hey, I'm excited. This is why we like being fans of Notre Dame football. You never know what our schedule is going to throw out. We thought Arizona State would be decent, and all of a sudden they're probably going to be our best chance at a good win on our schedule. So, hey.
Yeah, so this is it. Let's see what happens on Saturday.
All right, sounds good to me. Well, hey, go
Go
Irish.
Irish.
Beat Sparky.
Sounds good.
Says we are her loyal sons.